Today we're going to be focusing on poetry, right, and poetic language. The first thing we're going to talk about is lines. We know that poems are made out of lines. Lines can be long or they can be one word. These lines are grouped together in stanzas. In a poem, we don't call paragraphs paragraphs, we call them stanzas, right? Okay, so guys, what differs poems from normal writing? Imagery, right? So just say you were to read a book about the moon, you would find different scientific information. But if you were to read a poem about the moon, you would find imagination, and you would have to use a lot of your mind to create the pictures. For example, if we are reading a book about the moon, it's different from reading a scientific textbook about the moon, right? Because poems use imagery. Imagery helps to create pictures in our mind. For example, comparing the new moon to a banana helps you picture its shape and color. So just like a banana is bright yellow, the moon could be, described to be bright yellow. Just like a banana is crescent shaped, the moon could also be described to be crescent shaped. Okay, then we move on to the figures of speech. We use figures of speech to help us create imagery in the poem, right? So there are many types of figures of speech. I don't know why I wrote 3 here, but anyway, let me just go back to this. So the first one we're going to talk about is a simile. A simile is pretty simple. A simile is when we compare two things using the words as or like, right? For example, the moon was as round as a plate. So what is the imagery that comes to your mind in this regard? Well, we think of a plate that's white, okay, and we look at the roundness of a plate. The plate doesn't have any crevices or rough edges. It's very smooth, just like the moon. Let's look at a metaphor. A metaphor compares two things, right, without the use of as or like. So they're more difficult to kind of pick. For example, the full moon was a big cake, right? In my mind, I see a big cake, I see it being fat, and I can compare the moon to being full, just like the cake. Another example is, and we've done this in idioms and proverbs, it is easier to kill a fly with honey than with vinegar. And I really love this one because there's so many metaphors here. So when we look at the word fly, we are comparing fly to be your enemy, all right? So it's easier to kill your enemy with honey. And what is honey being compared to? Honey is being compared to kindness and having tact. What does it mean to have tact? It means to be skillful about the way you say things, all right? So you can manipulate someone by being good to them, or you can manipulate them by threatening them and kind of making them against you, right? So it's easier to kill a fly with honey than with vinegar. Vinegar is compared to hatred and lack of tact when dealing with one's nemesis. Okay, let's look at the next figure of speech. Personification. Personification means to give human qualities to non-human things. For example, the moon smiled down at the earth. The moon is obviously non-human, and it is doing a human action of smiling down at the earth. Rhyme. So guys, we learned about rhyme from a very young age, right? Nursery rhymes contain a lot of rhymes. Words like smile and mile sound similar, and it's kind of satisfying to say words aloud that rhyme. Okay, sometimes poems rhyme and sometimes they don't. Rhyme contributes to rhythm of the poem. Rhythm is the beat of a line. Sorry guys, rhythm is the beat of a line of a poem. In this way, poetry is similar to music. I'm just going to add my whiteboard. Okay. So guys, basically rhythm, if you ever heard, obviously we all hear music, right? It's basically the pace or the tempo of the song. How fast or slow is the song, right? Is it a violent song? Is it a smooth song? Is it flowing or is it choppy and abrupt? The next figure of speech is alliteration. Alliteration is the repetition of consonant sounds that create an effect and that allow us to feel the experience. So if you are repeating the letters that are not vowels, those are called consonants. So any other letters besides A, E, I, and U. Example, the snake slithered slowly through the grass. We see the repetition of the letter S, right? And especially the sound S. Snake slithered slowly. And guys, it's an amazing addition to imagery. Remember, imagery is when we create pictures in our mind using creative language. I can actually hear the snake slithering through the sand, and the grass crunching when the snake is moving past it. Okay, let's look at the next figure of speech. We look at the mood of the poem, right? So basically, the mood of the poem is the atmosphere or the emotion that is created by using certain words, right? They say that words can either make or break a situation. All right, so be very careful with your words because words portray emotion. Let's look at this example. The river, reflecting the clear blue of the sky, glistened and sparkled as it flowed noiselessly. So in this sentence here, what tells me that it's calm and peaceful? The words clear, glistened, sparkled, flowed, and noiseless. They all tell me that this is a calm and peaceful mood. The next very important feature of a poem is the theme of a poem. So guys, whenever a poet wants to convey a message, but a message in a few words or one word, he or she will use theme. Let's look at a few examples. Number one, when the astronaut landed on the moon, he felt loneliness. Thinking there was no one else, he became a little forlorn, though the view of Earth was stunningly beautiful. So, when the astronaut was alone on the moon, he felt lonely, and the theme of the sentence is loneliness. Let's look at the next one. The space travelers were traveling to the moon when their spaceship suddenly ran out of fuel. They were all frightened to learn that they wouldn't be able to return to Earth and could only land on the moon. So here it's a theme of fear, okay, because they're scared that they don't know if they'll ever be able to return to the Earth. And lastly, the marriage ceremony was taking place in a grand hotel. All the eminent people of the city were invited. The reason that the celebration was excellent. So here, there's obviously a sense of celebration and a theme of happiness. Closely related to theme is message. So we can't explain a message if we don't have theme, right? The message of a poem is basically when the poet wants to teach us a lesson using the theme of the poem. So we looked at the example, the space travelers were traveling to the moon, and we said that here the theme is fear. And what's the message of this theme? Well, fear can be crippling and it can cloud one's judgment. When your judgment is clouded, you can't think properly, you can't come to a solution because you just filled with the fear of this problem. Okay, so now we're going to move on to a poem. Before we move on to the poem, we're going to look at two pictures that the poem is concerning. Right, the first one is of a lady's face in the sun. She looks happy, right, guys? And we know this because her lips are upturned, her eyes are upturned, there's like a glow in her eyes, her eyebrows are also lifted, and can you see the shine or her rays, her sun rays around her? That's very beautiful. It's spiky, but it's on the softer side, right? Compared to this picture here, where the sun is looking furious, Okay, and we know this because he's gritting his teeth and his eyebrows are downturned. His eyes are, oh, he looks really furious. His forehead is wrinkled. So, what does this tell us about the poem that we're going to be reading? First of all, the different moods of the sun, perhaps, or the reason why the sun was happy or the reason why the sun is sad. We'll see. Okay, I'm going to read the first stanza of this poem. Just zooming out a little bit. Okay, I'm assuming you guys can see fine. All right, the name of this poem is called Sun is Laughing, and the author is Grace Nichols. This morning she got up, and we're only focusing on the text in black, by the way. On the happy side of the bed, pulled back the gray sky curtains, and poked her head through the blue window of heaven. Her yellow laughter spilling over, falling broad across the grass, brightening the washing line, giving more shine to the back of a ladybug, and buttering up all the world. Then, without any warning, as if she was suddenly bored or just sulky, because she could hear no one, giving praise to her shiny ways, Sun slammed the sky window closed, plunging the world into grayness once more. Sun, oh sun, moody one, how can we live without the holiday of your face? So guys, now that you have a basic indication of what the poem's about, let's look at a little bit of analysis, right? Analysis means when we break down the poem to better understand it. Okay. So let's look at the first line. This morning she got up. Who is the she that the poet is talking about? The she is the sun, and what figure of speech is it? It is a metaphor and personification, because when we're calling the sun a girl or a lady, we are giving the sun the qualities of a girl or a lady, right? On the happy side of bed, when you wake up on the wrong side of bed, you're going to have a horrible day. But if you're waking up on the happy side of bed, then you're probably going to have a great unfolding. Pulled back the gray sky curtains. So the sun pulls back the gray sky curtains. And here it's a metaphor because we're comparing the gray sky, the curtains, to be basically the night. And poked her head through the blue window of heaven. The blue window of heaven is just comparing the sky to heaven. Her yellow laughter spilling over, falling broad across the grass. So guys, here we're comparing her laughter, the sun's laughter, to be yellow, right? And this is interesting because the sun's rays is yellow. So when the sun opens her metaphorical mouth, she's releasing light. And what does this light do? It spills over and falls across the grass, brightens the washing lines, gives shine to the back of a ladybug, and butters up the world. The word buttering is very interesting because when you're buttering something up, you're making it bright or yellow. Another word for buttering, or another meaning for buttering, would be when you're flattering someone or you're praising someone, you're making them feel good. So when the sun is shining her rays onto earth, she's making earth feel good, right? She's giving life to earth. Let's look at stanza 2. Then, without any warning, as if she was suddenly bored or just sulky. We know that there's a change in mood in this stanza because we start with the word or the conjunction then, right? It's like saying, you can go to the movies, but, and you know that the sentence after but is probably not going to be something that you want to hear. All right. So without warning, and as if she's suddenly bored or just got sulky. So when the sun is sulky, because sulky means when you're in a bad mood, perhaps because no one's paying you attention and you want to draw attention. Because she could hear no one giving her praise to her shining ways. The earth was no longer praising her for existing. The sun slammed, the sky window closed. Basically, the sun disappeared, plunging the whole world. When you plunge something, you push it, you force it, right? Into grayness once more. Grayness is obviously darkness, the night. Can you guys see how the mood changes here from one of happiness to upsetness, to not upsetness, sorry, what am I saying? Sadness or neediness, right? And how do we know this? Because of the kinds of words that the author is using. The author is using the word bored, sulky, warning. What else? Grayness. All those words tell us that the mood is gloomy, the mood is unhappy, right? We could also say that the sun is being careless and impulsive. What does it mean to be impulsive? To be impulsive means to make a decision without caring about the consequences that will occur in someone else's life. I'm just moving up to stanza 1 quickly to address something. If we look at the mood of this stanza, we have to look for the keywords that indicate mood, right? So let's look for emotions. Happy, yellow, laughter, shine, and battering. All of these words tell us that the mood is excited and happy. And lastly, we're looking at the last stanza now. Oh, moody one, how can we live without the holiday of your face? So the poet is addressing the sun now, and we know that this is a mood of encouragement, of cheering up. And how do we know this? Firstly, we're using the word oh, right? Whenever you use the word oh, you're usually going to address someone and talk to them on a personal, intimate level. Okay, and without the holiday of your face, here we're telling the sun that we deeply appreciate you, right? We're comparing the face of a sun to a holiday. And guys, when you think of holiday, what do you think of? You think of being happy, being carefree, being relaxed, you know, having your life back, all right? And that's how the author thinks about the sun, or what the sun brings her. It says here that the poet appreciates the sun and makes her feel better about herself, because obviously without the sun, it would be dark and gloomy and miserable. So guys, if we look at this word here, I've highlighted the word oh. When I use words like ish, oh my God, all of those words are called something known as interjectives. All right, I'm just going to go down and show you the definition over here. Interjectives are words that express a strong emotion, right? Saying wow, yippee, hooray, oh my gosh, stuff like that. So the word oh is also an interjective. All right, let's look for conjunctions in this poem. Conjunctions are basically connecting words, right? Words that connect sentences together. So let's look at the first stanza. This morning she got up, and I'm just going to use my drawing tool, on the happy side of bed, pulled back the gray sky curtains, and there's a conjunction. When we use conjunctions, we allow our writing to flow and be and make sense, right? Through the blue window of heaven. Through could also be a conjunction. A yellow laughter spilling over. And if you guys notice any other conjunctions, just let me know. Okay, let's move on to the next, last two stanzas. Then is a conjunction, as is a conjunction, or is a conjunction, because. Okay, that's about it. All right, let's move on. Lastly, we are going to be discussing the activity, right, guys? So, number 1 says, look at line 1 of the poem. Who is the she the poet is talking about, and what figure of speech is this? That's pretty simple, and I'm not going to help you guys out with that one. Number 2, create your own similes comparing the sun to something. So you guys, I want you to be creative and complete the simile in this regard. The setting sun was like, and you need to answer the rest of the question. Number 3, from the context of the poem, what do you think the word sulky means? I'm using the word context because I don't just randomly want the definition of sulky. I want you to connect it to the emotion of the sun. Why is the sun feeling sulky, right? And guys, if you can see that I've added a mark allocation. It will guide you to how much you need to write for the answer. So for this answer, it needs to be an answer that is worth 2 marks. Okay, so basically 2 solid points or 1 point, and you explain that point. Number 4, what does the poet mean when she says to the sun, how can we live without the holiday of your face? This one I had explained a little while earlier. Tell me about what the poet thinks holiday means to her, all right? And how is that relating to how she views the sun? The next question is, what figure of speech is this? Number 5, what is the main theme of this poem? So on the top of my head, I can think of encouragement. Another theme is that of maybe low self-esteem. The sun could be seen to have low self-esteem, right? What else? Being appreciative, happiness, moodiness. That's another theme. Number 6, look at the words and phrases below taken from stanza 1 of this poem. Happy blue, window of heaven, yellow, laughter, brightening and shine. Which words would you choose to describe the mood of the stanza? Choose from cheerful, gloomy, lighthearted, playful, serious, and frightening. And number 7, provide an example of alliteration in the poem. Remember, alliteration is a repetition of consonant sounds, right? Okay, so this is what I want you guys to do for the activity. I'm going to upload it onto Google Classroom. You will download the Word document and complete the answers on Word. Guys, how do you complete it? You're going to click on the little bounding box where it says click or tap here, and you simply write your answers down. Okay, it's really not rocket science. Therefore, thereafter, you will upload your saved Word document onto Google Drive, right? Not Google Classroom. And at the end of the week, I will be, you will share with me your link for your Google Drive folders, and I'll give you feedback for all the activities in one go.